It appears that the Alliance of American Football has been kicked there. Just 8 weeks of games, Rob. They got 4 games left, obviously a postseason left, and they're shutting down operations effective today.
Hey, Chris, we do have the AAF theme song now that they have on their website. This basically sums up what has happened because it's dead. I mean,
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you, Chris, I'm not surprised. I'm not.
Why not?
Why do we continue to believe that people want more football? They want the NFL, and that's all people want. How many failed football leagues do you have to have? Oh, people love football so much, it doesn't matter when you put it on, what time you put it on, or who's playing. We're just going to watch. That's not true. It's not true. The World League folded. The XFL folded. The USFL went by the wayside, which was a good league because of legal things. But, Chris, no one's been able to duplicate another football league. And while people were excited after week 1 and, oh, wow, they were excited, they watched the game, it can't make money as a business. We've seen this over and over. Even when the NFL went to Europe and it was backed by the NFL, right? It still didn't work. I'm just telling you, I don't think that people want to see as much football as people think they do. I think they love the NFL. They can't wait to watch the NFL. I think we want an off season, Chris. You know what I mean? I think people like to follow the seasons. Where are we now? We just started baseball season, and guess what's coming up in another month or 3 weeks? The NBA playoffs.
Yep.
That's what we want to see.
Yep. It's all March Madness.
Am I right? March
now
Madness.
We're wrapping that up. You got the NBA playoffs. You got baseball.
Yes.
No, I'm with you. And this is, you brought up the theme song, but they have 2 theme songs. Here's the other one.
Oh, there you go. Very nice.
Right?
Look at that. We both thinking today, huh?
Yes. Another one bites the dust. You mentioned it, the XFL, the USFL, now the AAF. Probably the XFL in the future is going to crash. My first thought, Rob, what shocked me more than anything was just the apparent lack of mismanagement.
I agree.
The apparent lack of business savvy. And when I see names like Charlie Ebersol, son of Dick Ebersol,
who's a famous sports guy, director and headed NBC Sports.
Mogul.
And he was a part of the XFL, right? I mean, the original XFL.
And then I see Bill Polian, Ebersol's co-founder.
A very respected guy in television. I mean, in football, a Hall of Famer. So everybody thought with Ebersol and Polian and those guys attached, Chris, it's going to work.
Well,
it's a
you
layup.
also had TV contracts with CBS, the NFL Network. You had support, not tangible support, but I know a lot of executives in the NFL were said to really be supportive. You saw NFL Network broadcasters like Kurt Warner doing games and talking about the AAF. If you couldn't last 8 weeks with all of that, something is, I'm baffled, Rob, that they couldn't plan for an entire season. It almost is like they were flying by the seat of their pants.
They were, because you would have thought that if you're going to start a league before you get there, I have to have enough money, Chris, to cover year 1.
Right.
In case nobody showed up. I'm serious. You got to at least have money for year 1. And obviously they didn't have secure all the finances. And you know what? I'm going to call Chris. Hold on while I call. I'm calling Vince McMahon right now. Hello, Vince? Don't do it. Don't spend the money on the XFL. Save that money and give it to your grandkids and leave it for them. Do not do this. Hello, Vince. I'm trying to help you.
You're right.
It's not going to work.
You're right.
You would be better off going to the tallest building in Detroit, the Penobscot building, and throwing the cash off. It's the same thing.
Or just giving it to the odd couple. Something like that.
There you go.
I mean.
Am I right or not?
Rob, I'm a prime example. You remember after week 1, I actually watched a little
You
bit
did,
of the
and you
AAF.
were like, hey, it was good. You were all right with it.
Well, it was like, look, we're coming off the Super Bowl. You kind of I was still in football mode, you know? And I felt, that week after the Super Bowl, it's the first Sunday in a while you haven't had football. Even though the week before you don't have the games, you got the Pro Bowl if you're inclined. And obviously there's all the talk about the Super Bowl. So I was like still longing for some football. So I checked it out. It was okay. I didn't know many of the players.
Right.
But I haven't watched or even desired to watch 30 seconds of the AAF since that first week.
And what is that? That tells you all you need to know, doesn't it? I mean,
no question. And here's the thing. Look, the NFL obviously is king in America among sports. And one of the great things it has going for it is that there's only 16 games in the regular season. The NBA with 82, Major League Baseball with 162. It wears you out. The immediacy, the urgency of each game is huge for the NFL. Same with college football. And you don't want to fall victim to oversaturation.
No.
And this shows you that there could be oversaturation.
And oversaturation hurts the product. It just does.
College basketball is a prime example. Nobody really pays attention to the regular season.
No.
Not just because it's all about the tournament, but because, there's tons of games on every single night.
And you could see every game. It ain't like before where you had a college basketball game, Chris, once or twice a week.
Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon.
Am I right?
Right. Yep,
and it would be the best schools in the country, and you'd be like, okay, I want to check out Duke, or I want to check out North Carolina, or I want to check out Syracuse. It's not like that. Every game's available, so it's like, do I really need to watch this? It's overkill, and I just think they need to lay off. I'm curious. Will people really decide to go to the XFL? If I'm Vince McMahon and I just saw what happened, I would really question what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, especially because it already failed, Vince, the XFL. And remember, Chris,
and
their ratings for game one, do you remember when they first did the XFL, were through the roof?
Right. And the other thing, look, if the USFL failed, and the XFL, you're right, was they had this special names. He hate me.
It
names
was
on the back of the jerseys, all that. But think about the USFL. They had some of the top football players in the world.
Oh yeah, no.
Herschel
That was
Walker,
right.
Steve Young. If you couldn't survive with that,
that league was good, and they wound up losing in court and tried to move up against the NFL during the fall.
Yep.
But that was a good league. That was the only league that we've seen anything. But if you
had a chance, that had a real chance. Again, it's not around now.
Exactly. And
the only chance that a spring or summer football league has is if it's a minor, like official minor league, of the NFL. And the owner, Tom Dundon, who bought it a few weeks ago, he wanted to make it that, but there was no plan in place. So the only way it works is if you set up a plan in advance, and the NFL backs it with all their billions of dollars. And no matter how good the minor league is or legitimate it is not going to be a huge TV product.
No.
Because the G League in the NBA is kind of becoming more and more of an official minor league affiliated with the teams in the NBA. And I'm glad they have it because it's good for those guys who aren't quite NBA material to make a good living. But I'm not watching the G League on a regular basis. Are we watching minor league baseball on a regular basis on national TV? No. I want to see the best.
Absolutely.
It works in those small towns, and that's what it would be. But don't try to make some big TV animal out of a minor league, no matter what the sport.
And that's what happened with the CBS deal and all that. But I will say this, Vince McMahon is going to invest $500 million, Chris, in this XFL. I mean, would you rethink it?
What's he worth?
Oh,
I know.
sure.
Obviously,
a
it's
gazillion dollars,
billion,
right?
But that's a waste of money. It's a waste of money.
$3.2 billion is what he's worth. Wow,
it's a waste of money. Period. It's not going to work to be a minor league.
Right. Well, we should find out. Do people want more football as fans or not? All
right. Well, let's throw it out. 877-99 on Fox. 877-996-6369. Do sports fans need a football offseason more than they need another professional league?
All right, let's start with Marty in Kentucky. Hey, Marty, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What's up?
Hey, Chris and Rob, how y'all doing today?
Doing great,
Great.
bud.
How are you?
I'm good, and I got to tell you, I'll take all the football I can get all year long. Give it to me. Bring it to me. Vince McMahon, I'm not going to doubt that guy. If he quit every time he run into a roadblock, he wouldn't be worth $3 billion. In the 90s, Ted Turner come after pro wrestling, which is fake competition, and he took all of his stars, and he out-promoted him, and he become a billionaire. This is not a guy I'm going to doubt.
Only thing is, Marty, he did it before the XFL. This isn't the first time. The first one failed.
Yes, he's failed in wrestling before, too, and he keeps plugging. This guy can promote. If I wanted anybody to try to spark it back up, a summer league or a minor league, it's Vince McMahon. I would want him.
Marty, here's the $1 million question. Were you watching the AAF?
I watched it. I wasn't entertained, but I think he can put out a better product.
All right. Well, I'm glad you were at least honest and say you weren't entertained.
It doesn't sound like you watched it.
Right.
Like you weren't really. As much as you love football, apparently.
It didn't move
Even you were lukewarm on it, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah, I was lukewarm. But, Rob, I don't think you realize that Vince is going to put these cheerleaders out here. They're going to be strippers and wearing hardly anything. I mean, it's going to be right down your,
my alley.
Right down his alley, man.
Hey, that's right. All right, Marty. Why can't you just go to...
What about with folk like me?
I know, but you could just go. If I want to see all that, I'm just going to Magic City. I don't need to go to a football game to have the guys in my way. I'm trying to pay for college and send girls on their way. All right. What about Kareem in Fort Lauderdale? You're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Kareem?
Shout out to you, Rob Parker. I'm a former original Detroiter, so love you. Chris, I got a bone to pick with you later. Let me just chime in on this.
Thanks, Kareem. Thanks.
Okay, no problem, Rob. Let's try. I wouldn't care if Vince McMahon and Scrooge McDuck and Warren Buffett got together. The talent is stretched too thin between the CFL and the Arena Football League. Watching that AAF, that was terrible. I'd rather watch D2 basketball or football. If you guys watch that game, you could clearly see it was subpar. So Vince McMahon can bring all the money and pizzazz he wants. It won't make a difference if you want to see a quality product. We got to see how valuable Trent Richardson really was, okay? So that's my take on that.
No, I mean, look, minor league football or anything, basketball or baseball, will work in those small markets.
Well, you don't have
access to the highest
majors.
League. Right, to the majors. But don't expect people to watch it. How many people watch the Arena Football League?
Right.
How many people watch, CFL when we can watch the NFL? The only lower level football we want to watch consistently on national TV is
football.
D1 college football.
No doubt about it.
Not D2, not D3, not D1 AA. D1. That's it.
Rob in Dallas, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Rob?
All right, what's up, guys? Thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
What's happening?
Hey, I got two quick thoughts about the whole minor league football situation. One, no, we don't want to watch it, but there are reasons the NFL will never get behind it. Because one, we all know they got a free farm system with college football.
Bingo, Rob.
Right.
Why are they going to pay? Why are they going to put
Yep.
money into something where they got a free feeder system? 100%.
Yeah, that's just dumb economics. But on the flip side of that, if it would make sense for the NFL to get involved in some type of farm system, even though we know they won't, for the development of two key positions that they always struggle with, and that's offensive line and quarterback play.
Do they struggle with quarterback play, though? You got some great quarterbacks, and you got some, like always, like every position, you got some great ones, you got some mediocre ones, and you got some bad ones. But that's what it's always going to be that way.
Yeah, but the reason they're not struggling with it as much now is because they're adapting to the quarterbacks that are coming out, which is smart on their part, which is what you should do.
Right, it wasn't always the case, and now they've done it more than before. Rob, we appreciate the call. Thank you. How about Brian in Arizona? Brian, you're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What you got?
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, Chris Broussard, I got to say, I've been loving your NBA opinions since I first started listening to you, man. So
Thanks, my man. I appreciate that.
Hey, I wanted to chime in on this because what we got to really think about here is not the what, it's really the why, right? So if you look at sports, NFL, NBA as like a pyramid, if the top of the pyramid is the NFL, the professional athletic level where you're getting the best of the best, then anything below that, you feel like you're kind of settling. The only reason, and I think it was you, Chris, who said, or Rob, that said college football gets the same attention, but that's because the bonds of college football go further than the sport itself.
Right, your ties, if you went to that school, right, you have a rooting interest, right.
And there's a tradition. Let's face it, we're all into tradition. We all grew up with that.
And that, exactly. And listen, you'll watch swimming on television if you went to that school. You'll pull it in front of the TV and cheer your school on. So when it comes to college football, they have that loyalty when it comes to being a fan that went to that school. But the problem is that no league below the majors would succeed because it's almost like if you knew you could go out with the hottest girl in school and she wanted to date you and was available, why would you take out the girl that was kind of you were settling for? You would always think, well, there's a higher level to this, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I agree. Rob's thinking of a joke, I can tell.
No, it's all good.
You weren't thinking of anything? Trying?
I was trying. I didn't get there. And I just want to say real quick, John in Seattle, he just called in and he was just saying the USFL was a success. It was. It was a good league.
How long did that last?
Like 3 years, I think. And then when Trump and them went to court, and they won the case, but they were awarded $1, and that was the end of that league.
Right.
They won the case against the league.
And I wouldn't look. People were into the USFL for a little bit. You obviously had some of the best players in the world, but I don't think I can call it a success.
No, it was.
It was good for that run, but 3 years, Rob, that's not really a success.
But the only reason that it folded wasn't that people weren't going or they weren't watching, is that they wanted to move it against the NFL in the fall. They had the lawsuit and they lost. That's why the league went down. It wasn't
right.
It wasn't that people they stopped it when it was the spring league.
There.
Right.
But I'm just saying a success. I would give it a success if it had merged with the NFL, like the old AFL.
Right.
But it didn't even get that. You know what I mean?
Well, they already had a lot of teams. It would have been
It was hot for a moment. I'll definitely give you that. I'm shocked, not because the product was good, but because of the names that were involved, Rob. It looked from the outside like they had everything in place. You got the co-founders, Charlie Ebersol, son of the sports media mogul, sports business mogul, Dick Ebersol, and then Bill Polian, Hall of Famer, one of the most respected people in the NFL. You had a CBS TV deal. You had an NFL Network TV deal. You had broadcasters from the NFL Network working games. You had executives in the NFL talking about how they wanted the league to be a success. And you couldn't even pay the players in week 2? I mean, what in the world was going on? I'm not the greatest business mind in the world, but I think I could have done better than this. I know to get your ducks in a row and to be prepared to run a league for at least one season before starting it, this is embarrassing. Beyond it being a failure, it's embarrassing.
No doubt about it. And you're right. I think everybody got hoodwinked into believing that this thing had a shot because of the people attached to it. But as you read more and more, and we're going to have Darren Ravello on, and he'll probably dig in even
an
deeper.
hour from now.
Exactly. But, Chris, I'm not surprised at all because all these leagues, even some that have been backed by the NFL, have all failed. And I think our idea that everybody wants more football all the time, I don't think so. I think there can be where you stretch it too thin and you make people not hunger for its return. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Which, like I always say, you love ice cream until you start working at the ice cream factory. Then you don't want it every day. You know?
Yeah.
You think you want it every day, but you really don't. And I think that's where we are in football. If I'm Vince McMahon right now, Chris, I'm like, we're not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to put up $500 million for another failed league. I mean, the XFL already failed, right?
I'm with you.
Already failed. There's just, I don't care, and you're not going to be able to get the quality. Now, if you tell me you got 8 teams and we're going to steal star players from the NFL and we're going to sign some of the best players in the NFL and we're going to draft the top players, like also have our own draft and compete against the NFL, and you want to do like that? Maybe I'll buy it, but I'm not buying some minor league, half-baked league.
Isn't that what the XFL is going to try to do?
Well, I'm just not. I'm not sure of that with some of the cities that they have. I haven't seen any evidence that they're going to be able to lure guys. I just don't. I just think it's going to be a waste of money.
And here's the thing too: the only one that even came close to working was the USFL, which lasted 3 years. And to your point, they did outbid the NFL.
Oh yeah, they got Herschel Walker. He was drafted.
Steve Young.
Yep.
Guys like that. But let's keep it real. The NFL, as big as it was in the 80s, it still wasn't what it is right now.
No. It's totally changed. Absolutely. It was not.
It is the absolute king of American sports.
It wasn't always
right
there.
now. Right. It wasn't there. So, number one, the prestige of playing in the NFL, the tradition is greater than it was when the USFL competed with it for players. Number two, I don't see any way a new league could come in and compete with the money that the NFL is throwing at players.
And here's the other thing, and we saw this from the Players Association. Why would a player play in that league for $70,000, $75,000 with the potential of getting hurt and never going to play in the NFL?
That's ridiculous.
It doesn't make any sense. That's what they wanted, right? I mean, I'm just saying, if I had any idea or any thought of playing in the NFL, I wouldn't play in that league and potentially get hurt and never get to play.
Look,
I would stay on the squad.
NFL, if I wasn't in the NFL and I needed a place to showcase my ability, yeah, that's one thing. But they couldn't even pay players $75,000.
Remember, after week 2, they couldn't meet the payroll.
Right. And here's the thing. When you want to start a minor league in any of the sports, it can work in these small cities that aren't anywhere close to a major league team. Des Moines, Iowa, where there's no major league team anywhere near, what's the closest? I don't know, Milwaukee, Chicago, whatever. Nobody close. A team might work in a place like that. But don't expect it to be a TV hit. Not on the national level. When I can watch the NFL, when I can watch the NBA, when I can watch Major League Baseball, I'm not going to watch AAA on national TV. I'm not watching the G League consistently on national TV, and I'm certainly not watching some minor league football. If I want to watch football below the NFL level, it'll be Division I college.
No doubt about it. No doubt. And I think you're 100%. I think it's been overblown with, just put football on and people will watch it and people will show up. I think we've seen all the reasons to believe that that's not the case. And don't forget, the first time around, Vince McMahon had I think it was the WWE back then, right? What is it now?
Yeah,
WWF back then. I'm sorry. And the wrestling thing was doing unbelievably well. He had partnership with NBC because they were showing wrestling, and they put the league on, and that thing flopped. And Rob G has, Chris, here's some of the dirty secrets and behind-the-scenes things that were going on here at the end of the AAF. Rob, right, you got a couple examples,
Yeah, I got a couple here, courtesy of Albert Breer from the MMQB. Number one, only coaches and players were allowed to eat on the team plane.
Well,
doctors, trainers, equipment guys were not fed.
Chris.
That's ridiculous.
What is that?
Don't bring me on the plane if I can't eat. You gonna bring me on the plane and treat me like a second-class citizen.
What else did you get?
Number two, night before team dinners, a lot of sports teams do that. They were canceled completely, and players were instead given per diem to buy their own food.
So they could go to McDonald's or Wendy's.
And this is just in courtesy of Robert Klemko, who's also from the MMQB, said that now that the league has suspended football operations, players must find their own way back to home.
Now, how about that?
Wow. It sounds like LeVar Ball was running the
AAF. My.
I mean, the JBL or whatever it was called, Junior Basketball League, they had the same problems, reportedly. couldn't pay players and all that. I mean, come on.
People don't understand. It's a tall order to have a league and travel and expenses. It's not cheap, and I don't care what level you're doing it on. When you have to transport all these players and all this stuff, I'm not even, Chris, not surprised at all. I never bought into it. Unlike you, I never watched a minute of it. I just was not interested. When the football season starts again, NFL, I'm all in. I'm all in.
Yeah, well, that's what the NFL, one of the things they have going for it. I mean, look, come September or late August, people are going to be dying for football, college and pro.
Right.
And that's a great thing for the NFL.
That's the way it should be.
Don't oversaturate it. I think they're at a great advantage. I know the nature of the sport is different, and you couldn't possibly play 82 games or 162 like football, baseball, and basketball. But that's a benefit for the NFL. You got your own day of the week, and everybody's into it. Leave well enough alone. Now,
exactly.
I know these other places are coming outside of the NFL. They're trying to start stuff up. But look, like Rob said, save your money. It's a waste. And if you're that hard up to give up some money, millions of dollars, just put it into the odd couple. We'll take it.
We'll take the $500 million.
Yeah, we'll gladly take that. Yeah. We got some good ideas up our sleeves, too. More on that. All right, we want to bring in the senior executive producer at the Action Network. You can follow him on Twitter at Darren Ravel. Darren, welcome to the Odd Couple. How you doing, man?
What's happening?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Doing great.
We're doing better than the AAF.
Yes.
Oh.
I guess everybody is.
Basically, Darren, we want to know, as Ricky would say to Lucy, what happened, Lucy? What happened with this league?
Yeah, I mean, so it's hard because it's like, and you guys are both reporters, so you have to figure out at some point who you're going to believe.
Right.
And there were a lot of stories, and coming out of the first week, it was that there was a payroll issue, and you're thinking, okay, well, how do you get to the first week and you can barely pay anyone? Well, the league had decided they were going to do funding as it went along. And Reggie Fowler, who did not want to be known as the primary investor, he was the guy who was originally going to buy the Vikings before the Wilfs bought it. He had committed up to $170 million, and at around $28 million, the funds started to get slow. So the AAF had then said, okay, we definitely need an infusion of cash. The people who had invested before said, we're not sure. This was really before that first week where they beat the NBA in the Rockets, the Rockets-Oklahoma City game, and everyone thought the first week, wow, this is great. And so, they got into this deal with the Carolina Hurricanes owner, Thomas Dundon. And I think the deal that they thought they were agreeing to was great from a financing perspective. But later, he took over all the board seats with this. So it really became his baby to do whatever he wanted with it. And at the end of the day, he decided to turn it into, he wanted to be a minor league to the NFL. And these guys, the original guys, Charlie Ebersol and Bill Polian, said, no, we want to build our own brand for 3 years, and then maybe we'll do the NFL thing. But Dundon was like, well, if the NFL can't agree to change their rules so that there's free flow between practice squad players and my players, if it's not immediately a minor league, then I can't do this. And he put out an ultimatum, which I'm not sure what type of leverage he had, because the league hadn't proven to have any amazing substantive players. I mean, put Trent Richardson back in the league. Okay, so, and then it was just okay. I'm not going to fund it anymore, and that's it. No one gets paid further, and that's it.
What shocked to me, and you may have answered some of this in your previous comment, but when I see names like Charlie Ebersol, Bill Polian, I see you've already got a deal with CBS, with the NFL Network. I see Kurt Warner and other guys broadcasting the games. I expect it to be run professionally and done better from a business sense. Like, I'm shocked with the names that were involved that after 1 week you couldn't even pay the players. Like, it's stunning to me with the names involved. It just looks like they were flying by the seat of their pants.
Yeah, maybe too much, and maybe that there were people that I guess some people will tell you that the NFL was pushing Reggie Fowler as a guy who had the money and would have the money, despite the fact that there's nothing against Reggie, but he fails a standard Google check. I mean, he's run out of money before. He has money, but he's run out of money before.
Wow. Well,
so,
you got to know who you're dealing with, right? That's nothing to balk at.
Right. But I was told, at least, again, who do you believe, that the NFL was saying, hey, ultimately, if you want an affiliation with us, we want to kind of suggest the people who we think should fund the league, and Reggie was one of those guys. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's Charlie Ebersol, it's Dick Ebersol, his father, who was, of course, the chairman of NBC Sports, who did the original XFL. There are Bill Polian, and whose name is gold. But somehow they put themselves in a position where there was in week one, there was this payroll issue, and I guess they decided that Dundon's money was better than anyone else's. And I think they probably made the wrong choice there because, Dundon really became this shark, and it was me versus you, and I don't owe any debts that you previously didn't pay, which caused a whole lot of tension. And I am going to now, with the money I'm promising, and it was $70 million that he blew through 8 weeks. With this money, I unilaterally decide whatever I want, and if it's not my vision, I'm going to shut it down. And I don't think a lot of people believed he was really going to shut it down, and then this morning came.
What about if I'm Vince McMahon, I'm rethinking my $500 million. I think, Darren, that I think the oversaturation of football, everybody believes put football on and people will watch it and show up and everything will be great. And I just don't – there's so many football leagues that have failed. Why do people keep doing this? And why would Vince McMahon chunk down another $500 million after his other league went out of business?
Yeah, see, I think Vince, we know that Vince, that's one of the things that bothers him about his legacy was the XFL. And he feels and had felt for 18 years that because NBC owned half of it, that his hands were tied behind his back. Like he is not tied behind his back, obviously, as the chairman and primary owner of the WWE. So I think he sees this as something he needs to prove for his life. Now, there's a lot of things that don't necessarily make sense. He's calling it the XFL. They're sort of using the logo and updating it because he thinks that logo and brand has equity and people recognize it. But it's not your father's XFL
right,
with the gimmicks and all this other stuff. So it doesn't really work. And I think there's just not a lot of people who can tell Vince anything. So I don't think, Rob, I don't think he has second thoughts today. Yeah, I think he's probably like, I'm going to make it work because I am who I am.
Right.
But it's difficult. It's really difficult. I don't think it's a natural that it's going to work for him.
It's the Odd Couple. We're joined by senior executive producer at the Action Network, Darren Ravel. Darren, let's just cut to the chase. Can minor league or another professional league work in the spring or the summer in America? I mean, we just haven't seen a pro football league outside of the NFL succeed. Do you think it can happen?
Well, the question is there a device that helps? And obviously the AAF's point of view was, yes, we're going to have this tech business where it's going to be cool to bet. And, being now with a betting site and app that revolves around data, I actually think that idea makes sense, right? Like you don't have a natural affinity for rivalries when anything starts. So if you add betting or fantasy to it, it creates an affinity that doesn't necessarily have to be loyal to a team. It could just be loyal to watching in general and enjoying that. So I actually thought that strategy makes some sense because it's just so hard out of the box to say this is why you should care. And so I think that in order for a niche league to work, it has to be like the minor league strategy. It has to be something other than what's on the field. Not that the field is not important. It is, because the XFL didn't make the field important and it's all gimmicks. That doesn't work either. But if you're playing the sport, there's integrity to the sport, and at the same time there's something else like the minor league baseball model where people can have fun or people can be attached in some way where it's cool or it's different or it mimics something in life that people enjoy. That's really where you have a chance. Otherwise, it's not good enough that it's just one level below the majors. It's not good enough just to be a feeder league, because the NFL could pretty much do that themselves. It has to be something else. And I think the XFL is going to have to be that something else if it wants to succeed.
All right, Darren, man, we appreciate the knowledge as always. Thanks a lot, man.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Appreciate it.